ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dissect or Dissect. On this show, we endeavor to the best of our ability to analyze, evaluate, and examine people's use of terms and judge them by their standards. For viewers, listeners, and detached spectators to conclude. The topic I'm going to talk about today is the Gambia and the construction of a new seaport in the district of Sanyang and our system of government. Recently, there has been a great miscommunication and misunderstanding between the government representatives and the residents of Sanyang, as well as the vast majority of the people of the Gambia. The government proposal to go ahead with the idea to construct a new seaport in Sanyang would benefit the people of Sanyang and the betterment of the nation by and large, and should be welcomed with an open arm by all citizens who have the interest in the nation at heart. Perhaps one can dispute how the government representatives have conducted themselves in conveying the message to the people of the local communities and the rest of the nation, i.e. when the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mr. C.D. Keita, was asked by Mr. Pierre Gomez to elaborate more on the subject. He could not give details on the cost of the project. Roll the tape.
When the Senegambia Bridge was going to Africa 50, we heard 100.
Yes.
And 100 never shifted.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
What Al Bayrak brought to the table?
Well, Al Barak is not as straightforward as Senegambia Bridge because it is linked to the development of a large infrastructure that is the deep sea port in Sanyang. So you will see the revenue sharing as well as the period is all influenced by the capital investment the investor would put in to develop the deep sea port in Sanyang. That's why that ratio was realized. So
So speak Mr. Undemocratically elected minister. I unequivocally believe that Mr. Keita was not being honest in giving an accurate distillation of the project, nor has the government adopted any means of transparency. Honest. A person to be trusted always tells the truth and does not try to deceive people or break the law, displaying respect towards others and having integrity and self-awareness. Transparency. As part of corporate governance best practice, this requires disclosure of all relevant information so that others can make informed decisions. Corporate governance is the combination of rules, processes, and laws by which businesses are operated and regulated. Transparency. Transparency is very, very important. It increases the trust between the state and the citizens and decreases suspicion of such. But I'm saying that the government has not violated the tenets of the law in its approach with the seaport or with the seaport construction in Sanyang. And I think the government has acted within the constitution. Thank God the former brutal dictator Yahya Jammeh has gone. He would have expropriated the lands and properties and claimed that the Gambia belongs to him. Let's look into the constitution. Under Chapter 4, Section 22 of the Property Act, the law objects to any compulsory possession of land and property unless it falls under the following categories, i.e. in the interest of defense, public safety, public order, public health, town and county planning, or the development or utilization of any property in such a manner to promote the public benefit. And I think the Sanyang Seaport project falls under the latter category. It's by law applicable to the taking possession. But saying that the project cannot go ahead without the prompt payment of adequate compensation and agreement from both sides. I think the government representatives were unprepared in announcing the final decision to construct the seaport, which I think has left me and many people in a perplexing situation, not knowing what would happen next. I think many people of the community of Sanyang feel almost left out and have become indignant towards the government and not the idea of constructing the seaport. I think the government representative failed in their ability to produce adequate information to the locals and the rest of the Gambian population. And by not giving full details of who funded the project, the approximate amount of money for the project, the shareholders, the length of the project, and how to mitigate and compensate the locals that would be affected by the projects. I think these are the key factors where the government has not come forward and then explained to the public. And we're still waiting for the government representatives to come forward and address this issue. Very seldom do we recall the event of the past, and the least we remember is the likelihood it shall reoccur. Personally, I think President Adama Barrow's biggest mistake is his lack of drastic action to bring the criminals to justice, but instead he formed an alliance with people who partook in a government that violated the laws of the land for his political gain. I mean, for the victims of Yahya Jammeh, the vestiges of his crime is still hanging around. There are many people, including myself, every time we think of Yahya Jammeh or we think of the APRC, I become very angry that a man that was once trusted by the people has betrayed the people's trust. Yahya Jammeh was the president who talked with both sides of his mouth. 1 minute he is so resentful and use all this scornful verbiage to talk about, let's say, the British Empire. But the man committed some of the most horrific crimes ever recorded in the history of Gambia. And we do not need that kind of leadership in the Gambia. We need something better. We need someone who understands our struggle and reason with us, rather than being an enemy to the people. And I think those men and women brought before the Janet Commission of Inquiry and the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission, also known as the TRRC, should be brought to justice. Until then, those commissions I mentioned above have not much use to the victim and the nation at large. Of course, President Adama Barrow has not yet manifested himself or showed the tendency of a dictator, but he surreptitiously used a degree of the paraphernalia of the former dictator Yahya Jammeh, i.e. in 2019, President Adama Barrow stood on a platform or on a pulpit and gleefully stated that he enabled his paramilitary to use tear gas against peaceful protesters. Those people protesting were demanding that the president relinquish power at the end of his 3 years premiership. Roll the tape.
3 years jotna ya lon ni bankon kanja 3 years odna ala chief executive mun defon famalti ala Hussein Dabo bari kabiri nga gaso fayika anim bitema.
I mean, that was President Adama Barrow speaking. I find it so difficult to believe that President Adama Barrow stood on a pulpit and use that kind of language. I mean, who speaks like that? What kind of a human being speak to people like that? Bragging about throwing tear gas on people, innocent people, you know, exercising something that is constitutional and legal. I mean, the right to protest is our right. It's a constitutional right. How can the president be indignant of people protesting peacefully? I think President Adam Barrow has already shot himself on the foot. He will always be remembered for that sort of thing he have done to the people of the Gambia. That wasn't very nice at all. That wasn't nice at all. I think it was wrong on all aspects, and no one should entertain that. But the confusing side of it was people that were clamoring, laughing and jeering and clapping and whatnot. We shouldn't entertain behaviors like this. This is the thing. I think we the Gambians, we fought vigorously to end the arrogance and the ignorance of Yahya Jammeh. But look at what we get now. I don't think President Adama Barrow has the political mind of a great politician. And just because of someone can win a vote does not necessarily mean that one can administer a city or a state. I don't know President Adama Barrow. I really don't. And I think my judgment of him, I don't know President Adama Barrow, and I think my judgment of him is based on my political conviction. And that is based on his use of words and his policy. But my brothers knew him very well. And I heard from them that before his involvement in politics, he was a very decent man. He was a very decent individual, an upright man, you know. But things have changed a great deal now. If you listen to President Adama Barrow in his address to the Muslim elders in the capital Banjul, President Barrow used the terms my road, my police, and my armies, and my legacy. And these use of languages are at one point the former brutal dictator Yahya Jammeh's favorite themes. Yahya Jammeh disrespected the Gambians so much so that he was bragging. Imagine standing on a platform or on a pulpit, bragging, telling people that if you do not vote for me, or if you didn't vote for me, the Jains would vote for me. That's what Yahya Jammeh used to say. But little did the man know that Jains don't vote for people. Jains never voted for unscrupulous man. And guess what? The day that the Jains voted for him, that was the end of his premiership. And still he refused to go. The current administration is making the same grave mistake that was exercised under the regime of Yahya Jammeh. And I dare you, Gambians will not allow another dictator. Take it or leave it. Now, let's digress from that part of the discussion and talk about the principle of the law. I don't think any police, military, or person in any organization whose duties are involved in conducting an investigation concerning the citizens should be enlisted into any organization without taking an exam about the principle of the law, i.e. the Constitution. If you take a look at the TRRC inquiries, you will find out that the military, the National Intelligence Agency, also known as the NIA, the police, personnel, those people who violated the tenet of the Constitution had no clue that their behaviors were not conducive to good morals. And if they claim to have known about the precept of the law, then they should be brought to justice for their great atrocities. I mean, our system of politics is quite monotonous and need reform. The cabinet members are some of the most important people in government, formed by committees of senior ministers, responsible. And these people are responsible for controlling government policy. But all these men and women are appointees of the president, they are not democratically elected. They are not representative of any constituency. And you often find them owing loyalty to the president rather than serving the interests of the nation. I think every minister should be elected in their respective constituents before being catapulted to the leadership of a minister or any position of power by the president. Not a single minister, be it Dr. Ismail Assise, the the Minister of Information who never give accurate description or distillation of anything, not the Finance and Economic Minister, Mr. Keita, not Mr. Old School Ahmad Ba. I think that man has been in politics even before I was born, and he's still in politics. I don't know what he has achieved in politics now, but maybe he has achieved something else that we don't know. If you look at all these people that I mentioned, not a single one of them have ever spoken about the president. And these people are some of the most powerful people in government, and yet they are not democratically elected. That is something that we need reform on. And I'm saying this. I'm not a clairvoyant, and I'm not good at prediction at all. But I have a hunch that is telling me if President Adama Barrow does not repudiate this dissembler, conniving, and unscrupulous Mr. Mohamed Sabali, and half-wit, two-sided coin Mr. Sidin Jai, he will be defeated on election day. And mark my words, I'm just saying this because I have a great sense of feeling that it will happen. And both men I mentioned above are charlatans. They have very limited ability to comprehend politics and how it functions. The problem we are having in the Gambia during the time of the former President Yahya Jammeh and today is bad leadership. And I say this not with arrogance, but because of my inadequacy to find accurate terms to describe some sightless men. There is a saying about the blind. They say when the blind lead the blind, they both fall in a ditch. And I'm afraid we might end up falling in a ditch. In conclusion, I think the current administration is making politics quiet and apathetic for the younger generation. I can go on about our system of government forever, but I don't think time allowed me. And excuse me for the background noise. I think there's a Robert Hoover just wandering around here. And for those of you who have not yet, please subscribe, like, and comment below, and let us know what you want us to discuss about. I thank you all very kindly. Bye-bye.